Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad. This is my channel Animate Orange and welcome to another build video. This is part 1 of the 1937 Ford pickup that you see right here. But of course in this video we're just going to be starting on this build. We're going to open up this packaging right here and get started. It does actually have the scale on the back. It's listed as pretty much a medium build. Let's go to the table, see what's inside, see what we make of it, start putting it together. 1937 Ford pickup. It's a little bit of a tap to get the instructions out of the way in case they are in the way. And what is inside? Something colorful, I assume. We have 2 metal sheets with ooh, this one's like entirely black, it seems. Nice. And this one has red and black components as well as some silvery components, only colored on one side as opposed to this one being colored on both sides. Check that out. We're going to put those to the side. Look at the instructions real quick. Grab the one that says Metal Earth because that's the first page. We're going to try and go over the instructions a bit quickly for anybody that's new to building Metal Earth models. Unfolded. We've got page 1 here. Open up the view a little bit if I can. You got page 1. It's got the Metal Earth logo, line drawing of the model in one of the sheets. There's a 360 view that you can access either by going to this website or scanning this QR code. Gives you a 360 mock-up of the model so you can see it for reference sake. Below that we have a sample part with the notational insertion tabs, insertion holes, and fold lines. Basically tabs go into insertion slots to hold parts together. Fold lines are pre-scored areas on the metal that are areas where things are folded or bent. Beside that we have the legend. When you see the E pointing at something, it's pointing at the engraved or colored side or section. N is pointing at the non-engraved side or section of the part so you know which way to orient it when you're putting it together. It sometimes can be a little confusing. Don't get fold lines confused with engraving detail. That sometimes happens. See a little hand, that's an intention point. Almost always see that when it's an alignment issue. Make sure the parts are aligned a certain way. This tab sticks off in this direction and not that direction or something like that. And the blue circle and green triangle, you see a blue circle next to a connection. It means to insert a tab and fold it over 90 degrees. It's a cleaner looking connection. Green triangle means to insert the tab and twist it to 90 degrees. It's not as clean looking, but it's a more secure connection. So they have different purposes, different areas that they're used. Beside that, some tools. We're going to talk about tools here in just a moment. We go below that, however, we see a outline of the metal sheets. I'm going to grab one of them for reference sake. I've grabbed this one right here. So if we look, this is an outline of the parts on this sheet. You notice there's numbers all the way around it. They're pointing at the parts. All the parts are numbered, though we do have a lot of duplicated parts. It's a vehicle. There's symmetry. There's wheels. So you have duplicate parts, and they handle that by coloring in the duplicate parts. So you see that all these are green. This is a slightly different shade of green. Over here we have some kind of pinkish rose colored, some light blue color. Anything that's colored in the same color is the same part. They'll label one of them. Here this light green part is labeled 17. All of these light green parts are 17. These are probably like hubcaps or something. And this blue is 23, this blue is also 23. So it cuts down on the amount of numbers around there, and also just makes it a lot easier to find. And usually those colors are also represented in the instructions. So helpful little thing. Also, you'll notice that they're labeled sheet A and B to help keep the shapes separate. It's a fairly recent improvement. If we slide over to the assembly flowchart, we'll see when it's calling for part 1, because we typically always start with part 1, is letting you know that that's on sheet A. So you're not searching both sheets for it, just sheet A. Here's the part. We go down here and you see that this section back here is kind of highlighted in red. That's been folded up. Here and here have also been highlighted. Those 2 pieces fold up. We have this part coming on here, which is part 2. And if we look in this little box, you see part 2 has red sections that are folded down as well. So you fold those down, you connect them with twisted tabs, and you end up with that. We jump below that, we have part 3, again with the folded sides. Part 4, this one's curved. You can kind of see the blue arrows are indicating how to curve that. It comes over, connects here. We have part 5 on sheet A times 2, so there are 2 of these. They curve, they connect here, you end up with that part. And that's the gist of it. You follow the arrows, going through the steps, following the sub-assemblies and assemblies to construct the part. Of course, when you get to the bottom of page 2, flip it over, there's page 3, then on to page 4. Once you're done with page 4, you grab the other sheet, open it up, find page 5, 6, 7, and 8. Once you get to the bottom of 8, you are done with your model. Let's talk a little bit about tools. The very basics of what you're going to need is a pair of tweezers and some clippers. The tweezers, you can do a lot of bending, shaping, twisting of tabs, folding of things over. The clippers are going to help you get the pieces out of the sheets cleanly and easily by clipping them out instead of trying to bend them out, which can cause damage. I've also supplemented my set with some precision tweezers. I have a couple of pointed ones here. One, I ground the tip down just a little bit to give it a more sturdy tip for tabs and twisting things. And then I have a precision flat set. And between all of these, I can do a lot of bending and shaping and twisting. I also strongly recommend some sort of pliers to complement your set. I have some flat nose here that have definite uses. I have some long needle nose pliers for some of the longer pieces, and then I have some curved tips for grabbing things at an angle and bending them over. For shaping a lot of curves and dome shapes and whatnot, you'll see me use an array of 3D printed tools that I've designed that you can find on my Etsy if you're interested. Otherwise, you'll also see me pull out a cheap drill bit set that I have that's not sharp for shaping cylinder shapes, or just look around your house and use objects that you find like dowel rods, pencils, maybe some beads to shape certain things. We've talked a little bit about tools. I've got basic tools to get me started. The sheets are kind of lined up here with the instructions. I'm going to slide this over, organize some things, and start building this Ford truck. I noticed that the black areas are picking up fingerprints quite well. Time to put on the finger cots once again. I like the detail in the rear axle. That said, it does require some extra attention to shape. I definitely recommend holding the thin parts while bending the parts with tabs over. This will warp easily. Part 16, the red part of the wheel, had little bits around the circumference that need to be bent up. I didn't catch it at first. I love the idea, but I dislike that the part is so stiff that I struggle to bend them, sometimes actually removing some of the paint because I had to hold it so tightly. Furthermore, that made it difficult to bend the different parts up evenly. You need to make 5 of these. There is a spare. Still have to make some adjustments to the tabs to line things up. I had that problem with just about all 5 wheels. As said before, we will need 5 wheels, 4 corners and 1 spare. I had to sort of reach under the frame to twist these tabs. The tabs for the shifter were a little tougher to get to and twist because there was very little room for the tool. Part 25 has little curved bits in the corners. I had a little difficulty shaping it, as I would try to curve one end, the other would just simply bend up or out. Ultimately got it partially bent, partially curved, and then just pinched the two ends towards each other to finish it. The top part of 26 has a bit that needs to be folded over onto itself, then folded at 90 degrees. At first it seemed trickier than it really was. Also, I folded it 90 degrees first, then folded it over onto itself. It might have been easier, a little easier to bend it the way I suggested at first. These rear fenders have a little bit at the end of the curved part that folds down at an angle. Oops, I folded the connecting flap the wrong way. I should have folded them under the light. Be sure the tabs on the bed are pointed the correct way when attaching the side pieces. I was a little puzzled as to which tab I was to use to attach the back part on. A big part of the problem was that I forgot to attach part 25 to 26. It shows it being attached in the instructions, but it's not labeled and easy to skim over. I found it odd that there is a Ford logo on part 37 that will ultimately face the cab and just kind of be hidden, but maybe that's how they were made, I don't know. Oh duh, wrong way. These folded around corner pieces didn't seem to have quite enough room and didn't sit as I expected them to. Folding the side tabs over without knocking the angled bend out of line was not simple. I still had part 25, and it seems I was finished with the bed. I knew I had missed something and re-examined the instructions and found my mistake. Not a big deal to fix, I just needed to pull 26 back off at 25 and put it back on. Also, I'd put 26 on upside down. Now to clear some paint from a couple of slots so I can add the spare. And that brings us to the end of part one of this Ford pickup build. We've got a good ways into it, maybe a little over halfway. Got the framework underneath done with the wheels, and we've got the bed done. In the next video, part two, we're going to come back and work on doing the cab area and bringing everything together with a little bit of trim, and we will be done. So I will see you in part two, where we finish up this build. So far, so good. It is pretty much in the medium range, and I expect it to stay that way. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part two.